and a very warm welcome to the latest in our series of Coffee in Palestine. I'm Nell Burden. It is one of the largest grassroots campaigns to come out of Palestine today, and it's hit international news headlines on numerous occasions. It has led to US Secretary of State John Kerry warning the Israelis of the repercussions. It has forced the Hollywood film star to choose between her role as Oxfam ambassador or to advertise settlement products. They've even developed a brand new iPhone app. That is Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions, otherwise known as BDS.
Boycott Israel! Boycott Israel! Boycott Israel!
The BDS demand three things: an end to the Israeli war, settlement expansion, and violations against the Palestinian population. I've come here to Ramallah to ask experts and members of the BDS whether they believe, considering Palestine is one of the largest buyers of Israeli products, it will work as well nationally as it does internationally. Hello and a very warm welcome to the latest in our series of Coffee in Palestine. I'm Nell Burden. Today we're in Ramallah in Palestine. I've been joined by a very special guest, Dr. Mustafa Barghouthi, who's a member of the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions campaign. Dr. Mustafa, a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And our audience, who are all from Ramallah, and many are members of activist groups and members of the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions campaign. So thank you very much for joining us and a warm welcome to you all. So Dr. Mustafa Barghouthi, first of all, I'd just like to simply ask you, what is the BDS?
The BDS resembles boycott, divestment, sanctions against Israel and against the Israeli apartheid policies in the occupied Palestinian territories and in Palestine in general. The BDS is not a strategy, it's part of a strategy. And the goal of the strategy is to change the balance of power, which is now skewed in the interest of Israel, to change it in favor of the Palestinian people. Basically, the goal is to make the Israeli apartheid and occupation system costly, so that we can force them to end the occupation and end the system of apartheid. It goes hand in hand with popular resistance, and it of course requires additional elements like Palestinian internal unity and so on. But boycott, divestment, sanctions has been growing. It has become much more effective than any time before. There are two indications of that. One is that Israel is losing economically. It is estimated that Israel is losing around $8 billion yearly because of BDS campaign. And second, the settlements, especially in the Jordan Valley, are losing about 20% of their income, which is very effective. But more important, it is clear that it is effective because most recently, the most important goal for the Israeli government against Palestinians is to attack BDS.
Now, you say this is a strategy and it's part of a greater form of non-violent resistance. I just want to turn to our audience and ask you, do you believe this is a successful strategy, and are you part of this campaign?
Yes, I do believe that it's a very successful strategy, because as Palestinians, it's the least thing that we can do is stop buying Israeli products and stop financing occupation. And we're not asking you to go kill yourself. We're simply asking you to stop buying their products. That's the least we can do.
Okay, and have you stopped buying products inside of Palestine?
Yes, I've been boycotting for 3 years now.
Is there anyone here who's not boycotting inside of Palestine? Is there anyone who believes it doesn't work?
I think we have faced many of organizations, and many of youth organizations have stopped products from Israel, like organization in the north of West Bank and like YMCA, Belara, blah, blah, blah. Many of their volunteers, they share with us by campaigns and do the advocacy to do the good campaign to boycott Israeli products.
So you support boycott?
So you support it?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Right. Is there any... Yes, please.
I feel like the BDS movement is well aware internationally. However, I do see a lack internally. I believe there isn't that campaign advocating the boycotting of Israeli product within our own community here in Palestine. It is not as popular, as we say. Palestinians have that lack of, they don't really see the main prize of boycotting.
Why do you think so? Why do you think people are hesitant about joining BDS? Maybe they don't know, or maybe nobody's talking to them, or because they have certain reasons why they don't want to participate?
I believe it's the discounts they get from Israeli products. That's one. I think it's the lack of our own products' quality. I think there is a problem from our own leadership here to actually. I think people are afraid to give up a part of that quality. They're looking in search of the best quality they could get.
But I believe, if you allow me, this is a very interesting point you are raising, because this is what we frequently face. We've conducted up till now 2 big campaigns to boycott Israeli products in the occupied territories. And both campaigns were relatively successful. We managed to bring down the consumption of certain products like Tapuzina by almost 70% at the peak of the campaign. But we faced what you are describing, which is that there is suspicion of the quality of the Palestinian product. And also there is another confusing factor, which is that the Palestinian Authority is not calling for boycott. It is calling only for boycott of settlement products. The problem here is that settlement products are recycled in Israeli factories. So basically, when you say, I just boycott settlement products, you're not really boycotting.
Now, this issue seems to be relatively divisive, actually, inside of Palestine. So we had the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, actually condemning the boycott movement, the boycott of Israel, because he said that the finance is inextricably tied with that of the Palestinian. But he did say he would endorse the boycott of Israeli settlement products.
He didn't condemn the boycott. He just said that he is calling for boycott of settlement products. We say to him this is an ineffective strategy because, as I said, settlement products are recycled in Israeli factories. So they're covering the settlement products under Israeli name. And we are boycotting Israel not just because they are building settlements, but because they are occupying us. And those factories that produce in Israel per se are also supporting occupation. Our problem with Israel is settlements, but also it's the occupation and the system of apartheid that is practiced against our people. But I think even if the authority does not call for full boycott, there is nothing that can prevent us as people and as public from adopting it and advocating it.
Even members of the BDS have actually said it doesn't work so well from the inside because the economy is linked to Israel, is it not?
I don't agree with that. I think the BDS campaign can work internally in a much more effective way than it is today if there is more effort to convince the people. And I think the target should be the younger generation. The young people, and especially school students, are fantastic. Once they are convinced with the idea, they will force their families to follow it. It is useful not only because it means you are reducing the profit of the occupiers, but also it's useful because the main economic problem in Palestine today is unemployment. The percentage of those who are unemployed among educated young people is 70%. We found out that if we reduce our consumption from Israeli products by 10 or 20%, we could create 100,000 new jobs for the younger population.
But at the same time, how sustainable is this, considering farmers are now losing a huge percentage of their land, particularly in Area C, so they're unable to produce the kind of crops that they may have done before the Oslo Accords, for example. How sustainable is it for them to feed?
You're right. We cannot succeed completely unless we have a combined policy. One side should be boycotting Israeli products, and another side should be subsidizing and supporting Palestinian agriculture. That's another area where the Palestinian Authority has a lot to do because they are not doing well. The allocated budget to agriculture in the Palestinian budget is only 0.7%, less than 1%, in a country that is dependent on agriculture and that is facing the threat of land confiscation. So, in my opinion, one way of supporting boycott is also to support the farmers and the peasants and the agricultural sector in a much bigger way than it is done today.
Can I just hear from our audience about the sustainability inside of Palestine, particularly that farmers are unable to produce the kind of agriculture that they would have once done?
Can we support the farmers of Palestinian people? They need support from the people and the population, all of them. So we should support them money and what they need for the land.
Right. So you're talking about actually, when they buy produce, or, even to aggregate their land, for example, it's extremely expensive because they have to buy this in from Israel.
There is an unfair competition because the Israeli settlements receive government subsidy on their products, and they receive government subsidy for the fertilizers, they receive a free of charge land also, which they confiscate from us. So Palestinian farmers need also to be supported. It's not just the issue of Israeli products. Let me give you an example, olive oil, for instance. We don't buy Israeli olive oil because we produce enough. We actually produce enough olive oil to export to other countries. But the problem is that when we produce good